I just want to share this with the team. So you see this. Do you see the jumbo jar with the gift box of Progeny Plus?
No, now we do.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So basically, this is something I'm just sharing. It's an idea, and feel free to copy it or go to my Facebook page and copy it and clip it and put it on your own. It's just a message that I feel is important to the people that I deal with in the Hispanic community and of course, my regular Facebook friends, and I promoted on as much as I could in this season, giving the gift of life, of quality life. And it's just delivers a real message for people who want to, who know someone they love, and they really care about them, and they really want to give them a gift that'll last 120 days. That's why I said give the 120-day gift. It's wonderful, and I think, especially in Christmas time, it shows that you care. And I know Bob is a great promoter of this, of giving Synergy products as gifts, and this is something that I think is special, and of course, share the knowledge. So Dan, do you see the presentation now?
I do.
Okay, great. So let me just move this over. Well, thank you everyone for joining me this morning on our weekly webinars. And before I forget, Merry Christmas to everyone. Wish you all the best in Christmas, of course, in the New Year's. And what a year it's been, right? A year to remember, a year of challenges, a year of that we've been tested. And as I say before, this too shall pass. And right now, this webinar today is part of an ongoing series of webinars that we here in the Our Synergy family team offer all of the people that participate to sharpen their saw, to get their skill sets better. So this is another grain of salt, if I could call it that, too. It's an accumulative series of training tools that we're getting together so that we can get better at our craft. And what I have today is something called a straight line selling, the Tri-Tone Closing Pattern. The Tri-Tone Closing Pattern is more than just a fancy words. It is a true system that is the third part of the straight line selling, and the final part that they'll have the pleasure of sharing with you. This is something I am learning. This is something I've learned in the last 4 or 5 months that I've been implementing in my tool chest, and it works. But I've got to get better at it. But I'm so excited about it that I wanted to share it with our team, and hopefully you can take away nuggets as I have and utilize it to increase your percentage of business, because that's what it's all about, right? Getting our skill sets up, getting our ability to deliver the message of good health to the people we come across for the objective of 1, changing their lives, 2, making money, but more important, 3 is transferring our passion, our certainty, our energy to them using the straight line system. So the Tri-Tone Closing is nothing I invented. I have to give credit where credit is due. It's part of the Jordan Belfort series of trainings. And as I've said before, Jordan Belfort is an individual who has served prison time because he was in the stock market, in the securities industry. His story is portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. And as you know, he served time in prison, and his thoughts while he was in prison was, what can I do to prove with my kids that I'm still good and I could be successful without cheating, without fooling people, without doing anything, committing crimes. And he has, and he's retooled himself, he's recreated himself, and he has brought really great tools to us. So when you hear his videos, or if you see the movie, of course, take out the bad, keep the good. That's what I've been doing, and it's pretty good. So this is the straight line, the Tri-Tone Closing. And if you have not seen the first series of straight line selling or have not heard it, I invite you to go to the Our Synergy Family page that I visit 2-3 times a week, just to get ideas, to get tools, to copy PDFs, things that I want to promote my business. And if you look for the straight line selling, this is the first in the series of webinars I had, and it gets you in the right mindset. It helps you get ideas to show you how to grow the business, what resources you need to get your strategy together, your marketing strategy together, and use the techniques to improve how you present yourself, and of course, utilizing the tools. And the looping techniques I talked about 3, 4 weeks ago, and the looping techniques is only halfway through the funnel. The first part of a funnel is really just your presentations, part of the introduction. When you get to the middle, you're going to counter objectives, and the objectives have to be strategically addressed. You can't go in to a sales scenario without being prepared. So the straight line selling is give you something you could use for every single sale. Every single sale is the same when you are in control. So Judy, I want you to come on in because I need to talk to you about this particular image here. So when you look, but Judy, when you were a little girl, let's say about 30 years ago, when you were putting together a puzzle like this, and you were, this image here, of course, is a young lady girl. She's got a huge puzzle in front of her. What was your thought process when you were given your first puzzle? Do you remember that?
So, absolutely. So my first thought process as a young child was, oh my gosh, what a mess.
Okay, and then what were did you have a crutch? Did you have someone helping you put it together? Did you have to figure it out by yourself? How did it go?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom helped me. And she taught me, the first thing she taught me was to flip over the pieces so that I could see the face of the puzzle.
Oh, flip over. Okay. That was part of your strategy.
Yes.
Great. And then did you do that puzzle one time, or did you do it again after you broke it up and
Yeah, so when I was a child, we didn't have a whole lot of excess capital. So puzzles were really something that were special in our family. And so we got to do them over and over again.
And the next time you started the puzzle, did it seem just as hard as the first time?
Not at all. Not at all. I actually knew the color patterns that I could divide into sections and could really easily pick out the corners and the edges, which is where I started.
Strategies. When I was a young man and I had my first puzzle, I didn't have the opportunity to have anyone teach me because, my dad had 2 jobs and mom was always in the kitchen, and we had 4 kids. And so I looked at it, and as you, Judy, I figured it out. And the second time I did it, I figured out the corner secrets too. You just separate the corner, you make a frame. And I thought to myself, I said, gosh, nobody else knows this. I got a strategy here. Maybe I could share it with someone and teach them how to do it. As you grow up, you realize everybody uses the same strategy. It just grows on you as you do it over. And just like you said, Judy, the second time around, it was easier. The third time around is easier, right? So the takeaway from this is that we have a strategy. We have an organization, right? We have a planning technique that we've put together. We think it through. I was talking to this about Dan earlier when we were meeting, just to, so I could share what I wanted to present. And he told me about putting colors together. He would separate the colors of the puzzle, and that would be part of his strategy. That's pretty cool. So I guess the takeaway here is that in our business, it's the same thing as a puzzle. What we want to do is we want to take it step by step. And the next time we do things, the first time may not be perfect. It may take longer. It may be cumbersome. It may be actually challenging to us. But the second time, we've got a strategy. And the third time, we say, oh boy, goody, goody, goody. Feel like a kid. I've got a secret, or I know how to do it. And man, you guys that are listening to me, get excited about what we have here. Get excited about our Synergy Family Resource. Get excited about these webinars and what we're sharing. And by all means, implement. Make it part of your tool chest. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. So this is what I want to bring with the straight line selling. And what is the tritonal closing? Thank you, Judy, for your participation. So what is the tritonal closing pattern? Okay? So listen carefully. I'm going to repeat this several times, but it's important that the concept, that you understand the concept. It's the process of taking three voice tones, okay? Three different voice tones, and collapsing these voice tones towards the end or at the end of the straight line system, collapsing these three different voice tones, one to the next, until the three voice tones conclude in a soft landing. One more time, just so, taking three different voice tones and using 1, 2, 3 different voice tones to deliver a message which ends up in a very soft landing. And I'm going to show it to you, but in order to appreciate it, let me make just a really, really quick review of what the straight line selling is. Straight line is basically the process of taking a skeptical person from a 1 to a 10, or a skeptical or doubtful person from a 1 to a 10. Because when a person first comes to you, they bring a lot of their beliefs, they bring a lot of their opinions, their experiences. I know when Judy, if I could drag you in, if you come into a room and I'm there, and I am trying to sell you a timeshare, what will be your opinion as soon as you walk in the room? Positive or negative?
So it depends on how you're doing, but if I'm not open to that, immediately I have a wall.
Okay.
And that wall says, you have to break through. I'm not listening to you until I believe what you say.
Okay. I'm going to now recruit Donald. Donald, if I could ask you a question. Can you hear me, Donald? You're going to have to unmute yourself. No, you can't hear me. Can you hear me, Donald, or no? Okay. I think you can hear me now. All right, Donald. Got a question for you, Donald. By the way, your mask looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Donald, you're walking into a used car dealer.
Yes.
What is your impression when you walk in there? That the salesman is going to treat you with a cup of coffee and just give you priority treatment, or what do you feel? A used car dealer comes to you, he has a very bright orange jacket, and he has plaid pants, and he has a big smile on his face, and what is your impression?
That he doesn't want me to come out of there without getting the vehicle.
That's right. So you think it's going to be a good experience or a bad experience?
I think it's going to be a good experience.
As long as you're in control.
Yes.
Thank you, Donald. Appreciate your participation. I remember when I went to a car dealer one time, the first thing they said is, we need your license and your keys just to make sure we can prove you're a legitimate driver and you have the right to drive. So I handed over my license and my keys. I never saw that thing until 2 hours later. They just beat me to the ground. Let me talk to my manager. They made me wait. They're timing me out. Bad experience. Every other time I went to buy a car, my guard was up, like Judy says, right? So great. So listen, so that's the thing. You don't know what the people bring, what that person's level of certainty is, but you do know what your level of certainty is. And I say before, you must be a product of the product. When you're going to promote Synergy Worldwide as part of your business, you want to make sure that on the level of certainty, you are a number 10 with the product. On the level of certainty, you are a number 10 with the company. And on the level of certainty, you must be a 10 with yourself. That's why we have these webinars. That's why we refine our tools, because we want to know what products we're selling. We must be a product of the product, how they transformed our lives and the lives of the customers, how we have been impacted by Synergy as a company, recognize the leadership we have, the credibility they have, the recognition they have, the years in business. And of course, we must be ourselves individuals that say the truth and work with integrity so that we can come across. So that's the first part of the straight light process. We come across to them. We don't know what they bring, but we know what we bring to the table when we're talking to individuals. Judy, I'm stealing it again, the fried rice cauliflower recipe. And this is important because, as I say, as we do the straight line process, we must follow a recipe. We cannot throw the flour on the rice after we take it out of the oven. We have to mix everything up first, like Judy's saying. After it's mixed up, we follow, and then you put it in the oven. Then you take it out. Then you have to sprinkle the green stuff on it, and just it looks beautiful and appetizing. Right? Am I okay, Judy, so far?
You're doing great, David.
I haven't done it as good as you. So that's important that you follow these in the straight line. There is a recipe, and if you want to know what it is, look at the other videos. I gone into details. But the straight line process comes into a halfway point. And the halfway point is when the person says, let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife, my husband. I got to get back to you. That only means that they're uncertain. You haven't been able to deliver. You've delivered your first part of your message. And I'll go into the 5 steps of delivering the message in a minute. But you have not convinced them. You have not brought them to a 10. But again, when they tell you that, please do not stop there. If they say, I got to get back to you, say, okay, can I call you in a couple of days? No. You just deflect. You say something to the tune of, oh, that's okay. I understand. But then you totally ignore it, what they just said. You say, okay, I understand it, but may I ask you a question? They're like, sure. Does the whole thing make sense to you, what I'm telling you? I mean, how can it not make sense about better health? They'll say, sure. What part of it really resonated with you? Well, I really like the part that you said, that really helps your blood flow and helps you live a quality life. Of course. And did you know that according to the Center for Disease Control, they say that 3 out of 5 people suffer from heart disease, or the main cause of death is heart. And you go back under your sales hat. So again, these techniques are in a previous video. Learn them, apply them. So you're deflecting and you're using the loop technologies not to be insulting to the person, not to be disrespectful of the person, but carry on a conversation. As long as you know the person is ready and qualified and they can make a decision, pursue it. Then try to get to the close. Okay, so we went over the uncertainty, but when you go in, you got to be mentally prepared. The 5 stages of the straight line system, and we've gone them before, but basically you have to, first stage is be in control. The second stage is make sure that you gather intelligence. In the course of your conversation with anyone, you have to build rapport. You have to be able to establish a commonality. Let them talk about their family. Let them talk about their concerns. Let them talk about what is valuable to them. You're building rapport. You're gathering massive intelligence. You're knowing about their concerns about high blood pressure. The third part is you do a presentation based upon what you have told me and my experience with my clients have been, right? And the fourth part is you ask them for the sale, and they're going to come back and say, let me think about it. So that's the looping technology. And the fifth part, of course, is the Tri-Tonal Closing, which I'm going to go into now. By the way, using the 3 10s, again, we went over that. That's the company, the product, and yourself, the 3 10s, and the effective looping. So I'm going to go into effective looping now, but let's talk about voice tone first. When you are speaking to someone, and especially after this environment of staying at home and COVID is over, we will get to the point where we're talking to someone across the table. We will get to the point where we can give seminars again. We will get to the point where we're being able to talk to family members and everyone up close. When you talk to them, your tonality is important. You cannot talk over them. You cannot talk beneath them. You have to keep their tone, and if possible, emulate their voice tone so that you feel yourself in the same level. Body language is a whole nother seminar we can give, a webinar, but body language is important also. When you are with an individual, you don't stand over them. If they're sitting and cross their legs, don't sit and cross your legs. Keep talking, but eventually you'll want to adapt a similar posture. They lean back. Don't lean back right away. You talk to them, and eventually a couple minutes, then you lean back. keep yourself at a same level as them. Don't be over or under. But body language is important. We could talk about that in a later webinar. So, one more time. Tri-tonal closing. You've done the presentation. You've gathered information. You've gone the presentation. You've overcome the excuses because you're transferring certainty. And now everything is over, and they may be 95% convinced, right? So you pull out of your tool bag the tri-tonal closing pattern, and you are going to use 3 tones, one after the next, to finally get this person to realize they cannot say no, because you're going to put it to a soft landing. Okay? And Donald, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to try this. All right, so listen to me here. Say, the tri-tonal closing pattern has 3 important components when you deliver this tritonal message. The first component is absolute certainty. That's really goes without saying. You have to be certain about what you're talking about. You've done your studying of the product you're presenting. You know the company. And you know, of course, yourself. You come across to the individual absolute certainty. That's the first part of the tritonal. The second part of the tritonal is you're sincere. The person looks across the table at you and they see a person who seriously wants you to feel better. You want to share with them what you've experienced in your life because you're certain and now you're sincere. You really want the best. And number 3, it's a reasonable thing to do. Reasonable man or woman. Absolute certainty, utter sincerity, reasonable man or woman. And this is how it's used. I use the illustration of Jim just for the sake. Jim, all I'm asking you to do is give me one shot to improve your health. And believe me, you will be very, very impressed. Does that sound fair enough? I'll repeat it again. Tri-tonal closing. First tone. Jim, all I'm asking you to give me one shot to change your life. And believe me, you will be very, very impressed. Does that sound fair enough? Notice how I changed the 3 tones. And again, not my invention. This is something I've learned from the straight line system. So again, Jim, give me one shot and believe me, you will be very, very impressed within 120 days. Does that sound fair enough? Got it? So let's use it with my nitric oxide product. Jim, I know you're really concerned about your high blood pressure, but believe me, use Pyrogen Plus, use the nitric oxide therapy for 120 days. And when you do, you will be very, very impressed with your doctors, your family. They'll see the change in you. Does that sound fair enough? Boom, okay? You've already done your presentation. You've overcome the objections. And now you just want to close. You just, give me what can he say that is not, that will be, if someone rejects this, then they may not be totally serious. Maybe you haven't done your homework and you're working with a person that's not serious. So it's important. Okay, well, before I get to that, Donald.
Yes.
Try this.
Using what I see
No.
here there?
I want you to say 1, 2, and 3. Just read the lines and use my tonality. I'll do it first. Then I want you to try to do it.
Sure.
So we're talking to Jim, right? And I'll say,
Yes.
Jim, give me one shot to win your business and to change your health. And believe me, you will be very, very impressed with your results. Does that sound fair to you? Go ahead, Donald.
Jim, give me one shot at helping you to feel better. You'll be very, very impressed. Does that sound fair enough?
Wonderful. For the first time, you did pretty good. But what's the secret with this? We do it in front of our mirror over and over and over again. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate that. So I can call on each one of you, but I won't. But what I want you to do is know you can do this. You can do this. When you're talking to a person, you want to close them. You know, you can only talk so much and you can only present so much. But it comes to a point in time when you have to say, Jim, you know, all I'm asking you to do is give me one shot to help you improve your health, help you lose weight, help you gain better energy, help you get your cholesterol under control. And believe me, in 110 to 20 days, you will be very, very impressed. Does that sound fair enough? What can the man say, right? So, absolute certainty, utter sincerity, and a reasonable man. Let's go over the straight line process really, really quick. First of all, you must be a product of the product. You must be in love with what you do. I love to share things about Pro-Arginine Plus nitric oxide. I love to share things about Synergy because it is a life changer, truly. Number two, you must be sharp as a tack, excited as hell, and an expert in your field. And how do you do that? You go in with confidence because you know that in your tool belt, you've got the tools that we've gone over in these webinars, and you are really ready to go, okay? And you are excited about what you're going to share with the individual in front of you. You must be in control. Don't waste time with time wasters. Don't waste time with time wasters. Make sure that the person in front of you is qualified and he's ready and he's willing to listen. Okay, so be sure you weed out the bad, move on to the good, and take control. Don't go all the way up to Pluto, and certainly don't go down to Uranus. You don't want to be there. Just stay in control all the time. Follow the recipe. You like that, Judy? Follow the recipe. It's important that you have a strategy. You're going to take control. You're going to gather information. You're going to be, you're going to gather all that up. You're going to gather intelligence, because that intelligence you're going to use to overcome during the looping training. And after the looping, then you're going to go for the tri-close. So you're going to use the looping to overcome the uncertainty. And the last thing you're going to do is the Tri-Tonal Closing Pattern. Okay, these are really what the straight line is all about. And you know what? It's wonderful to help people. I find that that's one of the most gratifying things of my job, what I do, when I change people's lives, when I share what I've had. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is sales. We're talking about a business. We're talking about growing in business. So if you're in this webinar this morning, it's all about your business. Take this to heart. Learn the straight line system. Learn the techniques that Dan has provided for us on our Synergy Family website and all the tools we have there. Practice it over and over. Make yourself an expert in your field. And you will really, really love what you do, because when you have success, it's really a lot of fun. So guys, that's the straight line selling system and the tri-tonal closing. That kind of concludes my part. I just want to know if there's any questions or comments that I could address with anyone. I wanted to thank Judy, by the way, and Donald for their participation. So Dan, if you'll open up the mics, or you can unmute yourself if you wish, and give me some feedback, please.
So David.
Yes, Dan.
I got a couple things. One is I want to come back to this body language aspect.
Sure.
So you've been on the screen the whole time, And your body language during the whole time that I've watched you has been you've sat straight up in your chair, and many times you've leaned forward into your presentation.
Yes.
And we're on Zoom, and you could decide to take your image off or you can leave your image on. But either way, whether you're talking to a person on a telephone or whether you're doing a Zoom presentation like you're doing today, body language comes across on the telephone as well as it comes across in what you're doing. And if you had done this where you just laid back in your chair and you just talked to us about, voice tone and body language and had a relaxed atmosphere about it, the dynamics change completely. So it's important for people to understand that whether you're talking to a person on Zoom in front of them, or whether you're talking to them over the telephone and they can't see you, you've got to maintain the right body language for what you're doing if you want your message to come across with certainty.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's so true, Dan, because it applies, like you say, over the phone. People can tell over the phone by your tone, and they can almost, and in fact, I would encourage individuals to stand up when you're talking on the phone, or even sit straight up and use your hand movement, even though they can't see me. But I'm
Correct.
trying to deliver the message. So thank you, Dan. That's so true.
And then the other thing that I noticed, if you go back to your Tri-Tonal Closing Pattern, I think the last slide, what I notice is that you end with a question. We've done many presentations on Saturday morning about the art of asking questions. And you end with a question. Just go up to, I think it's slide number, looks like slide 13. That's it. Does that sound fair enough? Mm-hmm. Does that, so what you're doing is you're ending with a question, and you're expecting to get a yes, because if you've transferred certainty, one of the things that I really like about what you've taught us is that the art of selling is the transfer of my certainty to another person. Correct. If I'm not certain, then I can't transfer that. Correct. But I've got to be certain. So the whole process of the straight line selling is transferring my certainty to the person that I'm talking to so that they can become certain, just like I'm certain. And if I go and ask that last question, does this sound fair enough? If I've done a good job transferring my certainty, then I'm going to get a yes. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
All right. If you get a no, to me, that's an immediate thing that says to me that I've not transferred my certainty to that individual. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you could most likely go back into your looping strategies and you could say, David, I respect your no, but there's something that you must not be certain about. Would you mind sharing that with me?
That's a very, very good phrase. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, what you've done is you've acknowledged the no.
Mm-hmm.
You've told them that you're going to respect it. So you've taken away their defense, and then you've just come back with a question. So, David, I respect your no, but there must be something that you're uncertain of. Would you mind sharing that with me?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can get back into your looping strategy. You can hear what they, if they're willing to share their uncertainty, you can then go back and see whether you want to continue this process of the looping strategy to bring you back into the straight line selling process, and then come back with another closing technique on the tri-tonal pattern, or the person's a time waster and you just need to move on. Correct.
And that can happen too, Dan, but at least you've done, or we've done our part.
Sure.
In doing our homework, having a good tool set, being confident of what we know, delivering the message, addressing their concerns, and of course, presenting the question, as you say. This is going to work for you, yes or no? Right. And you've done everything right, there's no reason for them to say no unless they're just ready to move on.
And the thing is, I think and correct me if I'm wrong on this, David, but I think the subtle message that you're trying to teach us is that you're not going to get 100% yeses all the time, but if you can go from getting 20% yeses to 80% yeses, what you've done is you've significantly improved your ability to help people and at the same time create product movement that creates income for your Synergy business.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Because it is a business, and we're
Mhm.
we're trying to do what we want to do to make a difference. Especially as Dan and I, we're going to have the pleasure of talking again in a couple of weeks about goals for 2021, and we want to make sure that in 2021 we certainly do better than 2020 and the subsequent years. So this is only one piece of the puzzle we want to in our tool belt.
Great. Thanks,
Any
David.
thank you. Any other questions that we have this morning regarding the tritonal closing?
Hey, David.
Yes, Judy.
So this was so good.
Thank you.
I haven't read the book.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is addressed, but immediately when you said tritonal or tritone, that to me also talked about the way that you're speaking, and whether you're on Zoom or whether you're in the phone. What I heard from you is for the absolute certainty, there was almost pressure in your voice. There was
Subtle.
strength. Yes, but it's there, and people pick that up. There was strength in your voice. When it went to certainty, there was almost a release of that push and just an opening up of your body and of your vocal cords. And then when you came to that third level, that reasonableness, I don't know if you noticed, but your voice softened.
Yes.
And you were almost at a place with, I am in your hands here.
Yes. And it's almost saying you're reasonable, I'm reasonable. We're on the same page here.
Absolutely. And that to me almost was like arms going around the other person. Is we're in this together.
Yes.
So using those tones are so important. It's I spend a lot of time on Zoom. And just yesterday I was with a group of about 100 people. And some of them I knew, some of them I did not know. But it was interesting that we all got to do our elevator speech during this process. And several times we could comment on each other's businesses and what they did. And several times people said about me during the time, Judy knows what she's talking about. Her products are excellent, and you will get good results. Now, all those people have not even used the product. Many of them don't know me very well, but they picked up on my certainty.
Correct.
And they were even willing to share my certainty with other people in the room that we were in.
So what you're saying is they can see through you. They can see to you and through you based upon how your delivery, your sincerity. And that's important. Everyone that's listening to this webinar needs to know that. And the way you come across sincere and the way you come across certain is preparing ourselves, right? So I'll give it one more time for any closing comments or any before I deliver closing comments. I just wanted to give one more chance for any comments or questions. Thank you, Judy.
David,
Okay.
I want to thank you for inviting me to be part of today's webinar. What it has done, it raised my confidence level, and I've been making some notes. And I'm going to be practicing this because I see that this is very, very important. And I like the tone closing pattern.
Absolutely, Donald. You know why, Donald? Because where you are, a lot of people would like to be. And where you were, a lot of people are. And it's up to us to reach out to those people and bring them. It's almost like a conversion process. Bring them to where we are certain they need to be. But upon learning these skill sets, we find out how to effectively deliver that message so that they can really improve the quality of their life, which is what it's all about. So yes, I encourage you to keep practicing.
Thanks again.
In conclusion, just want to say that if you take the straight line system, if you give the straight line system just one shot and do it over and over again, you will be very, very impressed. Does that sound fair? Thank you for listening, guys. Wish you a wonderful day and a very, very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys here next week. Thank you, Dan.